over an hour.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
I usually do an hour to 2 a game.
All right.
Right. Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very well. I'm in America, in Atlanta. Just bumped into Alex Goldberg as well. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Second time we've met now.
Second time we've met now. Not as drunk.
Not this time. I was on the 0%, but give us a few hours.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm headed after this. Literally. Yeah.
Were you you going to the, was it Brew, what's that place?
Stat Brew Pub,
Stat Brew Pub.
or my other favorite, Beer Garden. The German.
That's the one we went to.
Right.
That's the one we went to.
Yeah.
What did you make of the game?
You know, I mean, I feel like it was kind of what you would expect from an opening stage Club World Cup game. Like, let's be real, the quality was not incredible. And I think we saw that in the previous games to start the tournament. I wasn't really looking for like a 90-minute, though, like barn burner of like beautiful football. A lot of these players either went with their international clubs or took a quick holiday and then reconvened for this trip. So I was looking for a win, man. I hate to be so simplistic because obviously we're against, let's be real, a much like inferior opponent.
Yeah.
But that's a big game for LAFC. It's a smaller game for us.
Yeah.
You know, and I was looking for a win, and we need the 3 points. And then maybe, you know, in the following games, especially by the third one, right? Hopefully we can rest some players. So, yeah, I mean, Liam Delap, that's my highlight, man. I'm sure you've already had people say that. Liam Delap.
No, I like him. I've never had anything against the side. I know that people want Osman and Yorkeres
Sure.
and these guys, rightly so, to be fair. But
Yeah.
I don't think Delap was a bad signing. I think the question is, though, is it enough?
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, but if you just isolate it, right, 30 million pounds for Liam Delap, even if you don't love him, if you look at the rest of the market, what Yorkeres is apparently going for, what Osman's apparently going for, Ekitike apparently going for, had Delap not had that release clause slapped on him, he might be worth 20, 30 million more than we got him for.
I
you
probably
know?
agree with that,
So do we still need more? Yeah, maybe another striker. I thought Jackson had a nice assist, to be fair. He had a nice assist in Neto. The problem with Jackson is he still doesn't act like a striker, right? He does everything else well. Like he's got, you know, really good feet at times. He's got decent vision for other players. I mean, he doesn't get a lot of assists, but, you know, he's a decent footballer. He's just not really a striker. So if it was Jackson and Delap, it's still better than what we had last season, but I'm still interested in another striker. But I would not be surprised if Delap still ran away with it. I really wouldn't be. And I'm not being reactionary off just one game. I've had that feeling now for a little while.
When you say run away with it, do you mean starting regularly as our striker, Jackson's out the fold in that sense? Or more of a rotation option?
I think Delap is going to have more than half the Premier League starts this season for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot more than that. Is Jackson tried on the left? Maybe. Is Jackson sold because someone puts in a good offer for him? Maybe, right? Then someone else comes in.
What do we pay for him? 30, 35?
Yep, 32 maybe, something like that, right? So, I mean, we'll make a profit off of Jackson. There's no doubt about it. But you can't give him away just for 50. I feel like you still have to get him at 55, 60. Because look at the striker market, right? We just spoke about it. Maybe we are okay with selling Jackson, but, like, if all the other strikers we just mentioned, Yorkeres and Ekitike and all those guys are going for a boatload of money, then Jackson, he's still young. He should go for a decent amount of money too. So you don't throw him away. But yeah, I mean, I think Delap, his history with Maresca, his history with Shields, Cole Palmer, right? The first good run he made in this game. Yeah. Cole Palmer found him, maybe even a little bit too late, but I'm sure Cole will sharpen up on that. But you can see that like they want to find each other out on the pitch. So I think Delap's got a huge, even if another striker comes in, Delap's got a massive advantage, kind of, because he's got the history with Maresca and Palmer and Joe Shields and all of them. So, yeah, I'm encouraged by him.
What do you think about the fact that he's gone from a counter-attacking side with Ipswich, not having the ball, and then he's going to be in this possession-orientated style under Maresca? Because that's a big shift, because he's been playing, how long has he been at Ipswich? 2 years now. And where was he? Man City's academy before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he had a couple loans in there that obviously didn't actually go, like, overly well. So you're right. Like, Ipswich, they played the complete opposite. It was all transitional. With that said, Manchester City, once upon a time, the academy, I'm sure they faced many low blocks. So it'll be an adjustment at this level for him, for sure. But if you've watched enough Delap, you realize he has good feet and he's just a good instinctive footballer. So it might take a little bit of time, but I feel like he'll do well. And to further it, right, Delap makes striker runs, right? Maybe he won't hit 20 goals in the Premier League season this upcoming campaign, but he makes striker runs, which is not Jackson's forte. So I think I think Delap is honestly going to like take center back attention away from then the top of the pitch. And who scored the second goal tonight that Delap assisted? Enzo Fernandez. And Enzo's really gotten so much better as a box crasher. You know, he's always crashing the box these days. And if Delap just keeps, now tonight it was the assist obviously to Enzo, but Delap, if he just has that movement towards goal, it'll open that space up for Enzo. So I just think even against low blocks, his movement is going to be hugely helpful. You know?
What about the wings as well? Because we know that we could have got Gittins. I mean, personally, I don't think he's worth 50. I think that's taking to Michael.
No.
But you know, I do think we need a winger. I think he's a good one. Probably wouldn't want to pay more than 40 in all honesty, but we'll see how those negotiations go. Madueke, Neto, obviously George come on as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about them, and are you happy?
No, it's not enough. I mean, Maresca even said it himself, right? He said, listen, we have 3 proper wingers. That's why we're obviously looking on the market. I'm paraphrasing, but you know, he said basically we're going to acquire at least one. Yeah. I like Tyreek George a lot. I'll be honest, he did not look amazing on the left tonight.
No, he didn't.
I would be open, of course, to a loan for Tyreek. Nani on the left.
I like him on the left. He was great at Everton when we won 1-0.
You know, he had some good performances towards the end of the season on the left. But even if he has a good performance on the left, his scoring angle is obviously a lot harder on the left, right? He's not very comfortable shooting with his right. I mean, he got his hat trick and scored 2 of his goals with his right foot, but that was on the right side. So, I mean, it's good to know he can play there, and obviously Neto can play both wings as well, but you need another winger, at least one. I thought Neto was fairly good in this game, and I feel like Neto's going to have a much better year too. You know, I feel like he probably got too much hate this season from the Chelsea fan base. I understand why it happened, right?
This was like his best goal-scoring season as well.
Which isn't
that's what's
saying
strange.
Much. It's not saying much, but this is true. He had 4 goals and 6 assists in the Prem, which isn't terrible. 10 GA in his first season at Chelsea in the Premier League. But I feel like year 2, he's going to get better. He'll be a little bit more consistent. He's an all-maximum player, you know, in terms of the effort, which you always have to commend. And, you know, it was a good finish tonight. He obviously scored a huge clutch goal for us against Fulham. He had a few clutch moments towards the end of the season. I'm not saying Neto's ever going to be some, like, bona fide starter for a Champions League contending winning team, or title-winning team, shall I say. But, like, he's a great player to have. You know what I mean? He works his socks off. He can play both wings. And I think, you know, we saw it with Cucurella. I think year 2 at a club is usually a lot smoother. You know, year 1 can be difficult. And I think Neto probably received too much flack from the Chelsea fan base. I understand why it happened, right, though? The deal came out of nowhere. Ornstein just comes out with this massive exclusive that Chelsea are signing Neto for a lot of money. We had missed out on Elise a month and a half before for probably even less money it would have took to get Elise. Yeah. So people put these expectations on Neto that probably were a little bit unrealistic. But if you take the price away, he's a very, like, you know, I'm not saying he's Pedro or Willian, but he's got something about him where you're like, okay, you give it all up for the team. You know, he's team first oriented. You got to say that.
This video is brought to you by 7Bet, a proper new bookie here in the UK. You get an early payout if your team goes 2 goals ahead, a quick bet builder to customize your bets, odds on players' cards, shots on goal, assists, and other stats and acca boosts if you're going big. Easy to use, smooth to navigate. If you're having a go on Chelsea or any other football team, check out 7bet.co.uk. Link is in the description below. Scan the QR code. 18 plus only. Bet responsibly. Be gamble aware. No, I personally don't have an issue with Neto just because I see he gives 110%. And totally. I kind of feel the same way about Jackson in a way. Yeah, but then you think,
but he can get a little sulky. Jackson can get a little sulky, but he does work hard. I mean, Maresca wouldn't play him if he didn't press well. This is neither here nor there. But Neto, had Antonio Conte been around, would have been a phenomenal right wing back. Oh my God, he would have been incredible at wing back. But yeah, no, I mean, he obviously can play the wing as well.
I like our midfield. I think that's one area that I can say. Obviously, you've got to see it in action, but on paper it looks elite. And there's very few sides that can compete with that, especially in the Prem. Asugo coming in, making his debut. I haven't seen a lot of him, but do you think that? Because I haven't really watched him play, to be honest. I've heard that he's sort of like backup for Caicedo.
He's like a stunt double. So like if anybody ever saw that movie recently with Ryan Gosling, where he played a stunt double.
Yes. It's a movie, actually.
Yes, it's a movie. Yeah. So like, it's about how they never get any love, you know. But the world of a stunt double is quite interesting. Now Asugo Really, he's got a lot of potential. I don't know if we'll ever let him fulfill that potential because we literally might use him as like a stunt double. Like, oh, Caicedo, you're tired? All right, and we don't really need, somebody to do everything for 90 minutes. We'll bring in a Sugo for 20 minutes and he'll just wreck bodies, because he's a ball winner. The guy is, I don't want to sound weird, but his quads are some of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life, really.
Must bring binoculars to the stadium.
Well, no, there's been some 4K pictures online, to say the least. No, but I think he's got a bit of old school in him too. I think he's one of those guys who gets like a rise out of making crunching tackles. So we ran Caicedo into the ground last season. Obviously, it didn't hurt us. He stood strong, but you can't keep playing with fire like that. And it's nice that we have somebody that, even if it's just for 10 minutes, can come on in and just do the dirty work,
100%.
Yeah.
I do feel like we kind of already know Asugo is placed in this squad. But Andre Santos, there's a lot of people that think he could replace Enzo Fernandez. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sort of open to it. Although I will say that I think Fernandez probably the most improved player under Enzo Maresca. So it's going to be difficult to drop him. Yeah. We'll probably end up seeing him in Philadelphia because no minutes for Santos.
Yeah, I feel like Santos not playing tonight could be cause for concern, right? It's like, wait a minute, is Andre now going to be unsettled? Is he going to ask to leave because all these top clubs in Europe want him? But I felt like when I saw Sugo coming in, I felt like that means Andre's starting in Philly. Hopefully in the Flamengo game, by the way, against Brazilian players, right? So maybe that's,
that
perfectly lined up, But that would be a weird one because obviously, they like Asugo and, he's a legitimate first-team player for sure. He was just playing in La Liga, so it's not like he's some random youth player. But with that said, Andre Santos was one of the best midfielders in the world this past season. Yes, it wasn't for Chelsea, but he was. It just absolutely was. So surely Maresca, especially knowing that Bayern are calling about him and all these teams are calling about him, surely Maresca is not going to make him unhappy over this tour by not starting him at all.
I don't think that. I wouldn't overthink it too much.
Yeah,
I think as long as he gets a few minutes, it'll be fine. You've got to integrate players in as well. So that's kind of why I understand why Delap didn't start because, you have it with, maybe not to the extent of Klopp and Guardiola when they ease players in. They don't get any minutes usually in the first season, some of them. Do you remember Fabinho at Liverpool?
Yeah. That's a great example.
He never played.
No, it took time. And people were calling it a complete flop of a transfer and everything. Yeah, it takes time.
I don't think it's going to be anything like that, though. I think he'll get thrown in quickly.
I think he's incredible. The problem is I love Enzo. Enzo's box crashing now is incredible, and the devotion he has to the team and the commitment. Yeah, I think the story will always go on with Enzo. Are we optimizing him completely? Does he belong in a three-man midfield at Real Madrid, right? Would that be the most ideal way to use him? But you can't deny he's gotten so much better crashing the box. He gives 110%. He's not the athlete Caicedo is, but okay, few are, right? And his commitment, and I feel like of all the players who care, there's a good amount now. I'm pretty happy with the commitment from the dressing room. But Enzo's right up there, he is fully committed. So
I isolated that guy a lot at the beginning of the season, so I feel very glad to see him grow. And a bit like Maresca, I'm happy to say that, do you know what? I thought you were going to do a lot worse than you've actually done, and you've progressed quite well. But I'm not convinced about Maresca yet. I'm not there. I do think that he's earned the respect of a lot of fans and time, and I'll give him that. But I can't sit here and say that I'm convinced. What's your thoughts on the manager?
I like him more than most, but it's a results-based business, and in year 2, I grade you a lot harsher than year 1. So
that's a high grade based on what we achieved last season, this season.
Yeah, well, I would say that what I need to see from Maresca and the team, but Maresca, is, okay, you had your half season struggling against low blocks, right? First half of the season, people didn't really play a low block against you. Second half of the season, they did. Let me see now a much better team against low blocks, and you're going to have Delap in, who's a player you have familiarity with. I imagine you're going to get in a winger you like Gittins. You'll probably get in, I don't know, maybe even another attacking mid/winger, maybe a Morgan Rogers, we'll see, right? But I think Maresca has more say in this transfer window as well.
Yeah.
So if he's getting players that are more suited for his style, then I want to see us, even when teams park the bus, I want to see us zip it more and just have a little bit more about us,
That's the thing. It's not the fact that we win; it's how we win, and that's what frustrated me a lot this season. And to be fair, I'm not even surprised. I do think that the players deserve a bit of sympathy because of their schedule. I absolutely agree with that. So don't want to give too much stick. Just finishing off, goalkeeper and defence. Sanchez in goal. Nobody's happy. Don't really need to talk about it. I'm absolutely gutted that we didn't get Petrovic. Even the Magnan deal just seems so much worse now that we fumbled our own keeper. How does that work?
Maybe Mignon can be visited again.
I think it's done. I think it's over.
Well,
mate.
the problem though is for Milan is they have absolutely no leverage. They have no leverage. I mean, he's going to leave on a free. So, okay, fine. If they want him for this season and then lose him on a free because they hope that just for a season he helps them get back in Champions League, then fair play. But there's at least 12 million on the table and they're broke. So I'm not overly confident that we get Mike Mignon, but I wouldn't say it's over. And I also would not say the goalkeeping conversation's over. If it's not Mignon, maybe it's someone like Marcin Bolka or I don't know. I mean, there are going to be keepers.
James Trafford, that's the name I've heard.
Well, that's another Maresca Shields ex-City boy, so you never know. But yeah, goalkeeper, that's going to be a big conversation until August 31st, unless we get Mignon soon. Yeah.
Well, listen, man, appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate it,
And also, I've got to say this as well, because this is my first time in America.
Yeah.
You've obviously been to games here before in the States. How does this compare to like other games you've been to in America?
This is different. I mean, as people will see, the turnout obviously looked bad and it wasn't great. But if you go to, like, I think Philadelphia is going to be way more packed and probably feel a little bit more.
It's a weekend game as well, so people won't be working,
right.
hopefully.
This, for everybody watching in the UK who are like, oh my God, this is horrible. I mean, it wasn't good, but this was Monday at 3 p.m., right? And it's not a Chelsea game in London, right? It is literally Monday at 3 p.m., Chelsea versus LAFC. In a tournament not many people have heard of, not the World Cup, the Club World Cup. So, like, in order for this to be packed, and by the way, it's a massive stadium as well, so it's always going to look a little emptier when it's the capacity that it is. But, like, people aren't taking work off for this. They're just not, you know, like, whereas I think the Miami, if we are first in the group and we have that game down in Miami against Benfica maybe, something like that, I think that'll be a good turnout. I think the Philly games will be a good turnout. To answer your question, though, it's very, very hit or miss. You could go, like I've been to some games in America and it's packed, and then you go to something like this at the wrong time in a big stadium and it looks like we don't care, which isn't true, but it looks like it.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I just think maybe the match day experience is great. It's just not necessarily the atmosphere that you would expect.
I mean, the stadium's beautiful.
It's a lovely stadium.
Yeah, but obviously if you're looking for like the Stamford Bridge experience, it's the complete opposite. Yeah.
There you go. Well, listen, big up to you. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I'll see you in the pub.
Absolutely, let's do it.
There you go.
Cool.
Hey, how long was that? 17 minutes. I'm going to